So welcome to my first thoughts on Live Alive, a game that I used to think was called Live Alive, and that was originally released in 1994 on the Super Famicom, and I was kind of fascinated about the game. I saw it in a video game magazine, there's a little blurb on it, and I read about it, and I'm like, oh, you can play as different people's lives, and there's all these different adventures you can go on within the same game, and I'm like, this looks cool, and we're never gonna get it. And we never did. We never got that Super Famicom game brought over here for the Super Nintendo. It made sense at the time. A lot of those games were not coming out. Games like Front Mission at the time, stuff like that. Live Alive was another game that absolutely was not coming out. But get this, I knew I had something Live Alive around. And I was looking around and I found this. I bought the soundtrack probably 26, 28 years ago now. And I'm like, oh, I had the soundtrack. And the one thing I do remember about the soundtrack is it wasn't that memorable. It wasn't that memorable to me. I was like, yeah, it's okay, because sometimes I'd buy video game music for games that weren't out over here, and I'd listen to them and go, oh my god, this is either really great or I've made a big mistake. And I thought it was okay, the music. So the game kind of drifted away from me over the years, and I kind of was just like, okay, something we'll never get, something a part of history. And then all of a sudden, they announced Live Alive, coming out on the Nintendo Switch, a remaster remake of the original game. And I was like, of all games to do, they're doing this game? And I was intrigued and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And like a lot of you out there, I played the demo. And in the demo, you can only pick as 3 characters. In the full game, it's 7 characters. You play through each of their lives. I'm gonna get into it. And so I played the first 3 characters to where you could in the demo, and then you can bring that save data into the final game, and that's what I did. And I played the demo, and what was my thoughts? I definitely wanted more, because some of those little adventures you go on, all of a sudden the end on a bit of a cliffhanger, and you're like, wait, what's gonna happen next? I gotta know. So got the final game, and oh man, what do I want to talk about with this game? This is a game that I didn't have a lot of hype for. I really didn't have a lot of hype for. I thought, it's cool they're taking this really obscure game, giving it this treatment, I'll try it out. This game has been so charming and has won me over so hard that I'm a little in shock, and I don't want to gush too much, but I'm going to. I'm going to say something kind of outlandish here too. This game has really got me. Like, I really, really like this game. And I'm going to tell you all the reasons why. I think for old school fans of some of these older games, it's definitely for you. It's definitely for you. But I've had friends, right? I've had friends that played the demo and were like, I'm not playing the full game. I'm not interested. And these are people who are big RPG fans, and I'm like, oh, so I went to the demo going, it's really old school combat and things. Maybe it hasn't aged well, even though it will probably look really good. Maybe that hasn't done so well over the years. Where here's the strength of the game, I believe. The strength is that you play as all of these individual characters, and you play as a martial artist, you play as a ninja, you play as a robot, you play as a cowboy, many different lives. And why I like this game so much is that you can jump in, pick anybody you want to start with, start playing with them, and you go on this little adventure, and you get to know this character and all of the other characters in this little scenario. Now, these scenarios are not very long. They're like a couple of hours each. Some of them are a little bit longer. Like the Shinobi one for me, that took me a little bit. I kept getting lost in the castle going, wait a second, where am I going? What am I doing? Some little things caught me up a little bit, so it extended the life, a little bit of the length of some of this stuff. But most are around 2 hours, and I'm halfway through the game now. I've gone through half of the lives. My favorite so far, I like the cowboy one. I thought that was really charming, and it's small. And this is the thing about it. The cowboy one alone is a very small game into itself. You're a lone gunman, comes into a town. I don't want to ruin too much, and you help the town. That's it. That's all there is, and it ends, and you go off into the sunset, and I like it. And the reason why is because on a night, I can sit and go, okay, I'm gonna play this life now. And I start playing, say, as the martial artist, and you get to know their story, and all of a sudden, it's over, and you feel fulfilled. I think that's what it is. You go in and you can play for like 2 hours of this little adventure and you feel fulfilled, like you did something. You're like, I got that one done. Tomorrow, I'll work on this character. I'll do that character. And it's so cool how different all of the stories are. Like, as I say, one of them is a robot you created on a spaceship as the crew is waking up, coming back to Earth, and some stuff has gone awry. And it's a bit eerie. I can't believe it sucked me in that much. I was playing as that the other day and I'm like, this is really kind of creepy and strange, and you can kind of see the influence from Alien and stuff like that, and I love it. I love it because it's a 1990s game updated with graphics for our time today, but with some ideals of the past. So that little story there with the robots inspired by Alien a little bit, and I really like stuff like that, and I really like some of the other adventures as well, like the ninja, the shinobi one. It's really, really cool. Like, I call my character Joe Musashi from the original Sega shinobi game for this, and your mission is to go into a castle and rescue a prisoner. That's all there is to it. I can't believe it because every single game is completely different. So, but the combat is pretty much the same, but you have all different moves depending on which character you're using and which time period you're in. So obviously when you're in the Western, you're using 6 guns and stuff like that, and bombs, things like that. That makes sense. And when you're playing as the ninja, you have shurikens and all that stuff. And the gameplay is so different. Every adventure is so different. And that's what I like. So after I finished playing the cowboy one, I'm like, okay, let's finish off the shinobi one. I went in and finished that off, and it's just such a different experience. And I gotta say, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. And I'm gonna say something that's gonna be crazy to say, but I'm gonna say it anyways. This is definitely, I know, but I'm gonna say it because it's giving me that feeling. It's definitely a game of the year for me. Even though it's such an older game, this is meant for old school RPG fans at its core. And the stories are small, they're cute, and there's so many different ones. And even for me right now, and I don't want to spoil it, I haven't watched any reviews or anything like that, I wonder how it's all going to come together at the end when I finish everybody's lives. And as I say, I'm close to having that done, halfway through. What's going to happen then? Even if nothing happens, it's still cool to see all of these individual stories. And it's something that you don't see nowadays quite the same way. And even the combat, it's a grid-based combat. It's very old school. And it depends on, where you're doing some of your attacks, and if you're still in the squares when other enemies do like a fire attack, you'll get burn damage on the next round, things like that. And that's a little archaic, but I like it. And I think that's what I feel with this game. I feel like I'm at home again, and I feel like I'm back in the 90s again. And that's why this game has me so much. But whenever I start playing as a different character and I'm coming off a bunch of different scenarios, it's always fresh. Like I'm playing this one now where this character has like psychic energy and he can read people's minds, and it's so different to the other scenarios that I was playing, and it's just so fascinating. I'll ask you guys, what are your thoughts on Live Alive, or as I used to say, Live Alive? That's how I thought it was pronounced back in like 1994. There was nobody there to correct me. What do you guys think of this game? Is it living up to your expectations? Are you disappointed? Is it too old school for you? Here's the wonderful thing. This is the great thing about it. If I put anybody's interest in it, there's a demo. There's a demo. You can go and play the demo, 3 of the lives in there, and see if it is for you. There's enough in there to really make your mind up. And the demo is what won it over for me. It's what won it over for me. If I was listening to some early impressions, some people were liking it, but some of my close friends were like, no, I don't like this. I'm like, what? You don't? I'm glad that I went in and I played a lot more of the game and I gone past the demo. Now that I'm in the full game, it's like, oh, we've opened up. And even today, I know tonight, I'll play another life. I'll do another one of those things just for 2 hours. And that's the great thing here is you just go in for a little bit of time and do that adventure. And that is what's so fulfilling. And yes, it is simplistic in a lot of ways, but it's kind of what you get out of it. Get out of the experience that way. The one thing that I will kind of complain about especially like I noticed in the Shinobi level and some of the other levels as well. When it's scrolling in 3D, sometimes it's really jittery. I did notice that. It doesn't take away from the game, but I was really surprised to see that stutter. I'm like, really? Really? I mean, is it really that powerful what we're doing with the stuff there? But most of it is like overhead stuff and all that works really good. And I do want to say, I got to go into the graphics and sound. I really like the graphical upgrade. If you look at the original Super Famicom game to this game now, they've done a stupendous job of taking those old school graphics and upgrading them for modern audience, and I think they knocked it out of the park, and I absolutely adore it. And here's the thing, remember I said the music back in the Super Famicom CD soundtrack here? I thought it was okay back in the day. It didn't inspire me when I was sitting around drawing and stuff like that. I like the new soundtrack, and a lot of it is more subtle. But when you get into some combat, and it's like this almost like techno music, and it's really pumping you up. I'm like, I really like that. Where some of the songs really do drone out for a long time. When I was in the Shinobi level, going through the castle, it's the same song over and over. And you know what? The song was fine. It wasn't waning on me over time. I thought it was really fine. I think the music is subtle. It's just there. It's not one of those things there where I'll need to buy the soundtrack separately or anything like that. But I do like this game, and I can't wait to play a lot more of it. And it's one of those games that everybody's going to pass over. And I'm going to say, go play the demo. If you like old school games, you owe it to yourself to try it out, especially as one of those early Squaresoft games on the Super Famicom that we never got. It's a miracle that they decided to say, let's do Live Alive of all games to bring back and give this 3D treatment to. This is the last game that I ever thought would get this treatment, and I'm really, really thrilled that they did, and I think they've done an amazing job. Some of the writing, even the voice acting, it totally works for me. I was like, I like this voice acting. It's a bit cheesy at times and all that, and it's totally fitting. I didn't even notice if there's a Japanese option in there. I was just playing in English, and I thought that was really good. I thought they did fine. I think they did absolutely fine for what this is. To be honest with you, I was surprised there was as much voice acting in this game as I thought there would be. I thought it'd just be text, right? Just like the original game, but most of it is voice acting a lot of times, especially for the main characters which talk, which is really fascinating and unusual for a game of that time period. So yes, guys, I really like this game. Yes, it's going into my games of the year. I'm only halfway through the game, but it's majorly won me over, and I think it's so charming. And dare I say this, I was thinking about this when I was playing it. It feels in that world of Earthbound, meaning that charm that's there, you know, and it's something you can't absolutely write down exactly why that is. There just is a bit of a magic there, and this game has that magic, and I think it really stands out, and I think people who will play the game will really notice that and get something out of it. I hope you guys do. I definitely have so far. So anyways, guys, until next time.